So good morning, AKF. So great to see everyone. 2 years ago, I discovered something. I discovered that the flat earth movement is alive and well. And it's actually growing quite rapidly, which was shocking to me. And so I made a personal decision and I decided to take a serious look into the flat earth ideology. And I went deep in the rabbit hole. And it's pretty incredible the lengths flat earthers will go to ignore evidence provided to them that we indeed live on a globe. For example, if you show them a picture of Earth from space, they will say it's CGI, computer-generated imagery. If you show them a video of something that demonstrates we live on a globe, they'll say that the video is doctored or altered. If you show them a human being talking about something that they actually did, such as going to space or even walking on the moon, the flat earthers will say that they are simply lying. If you show them a video of someone floating in space, they will say that the video was filmed on Earth in a reduced gravity aircraft, more popularly known as a zero-G plane, or by its nickname, the Vomit Comet. If you show them astronauts in space working on the outside of the International Space Station, they will say that that was actually filmed on Earth underwater in a very large pool to create the look and movement of space. The list goes on and on and on. They have an answer for everything. But you know what's important? The important thing is that they actually believe the answers that they give. They might sound silly or outlandish to us, but they actually believe them. So for the next 3 weeks, I am going to provide irrefutable proof that we live on a globe. These proofs I will be offering are going to be globe evidences that flat earthers do not have answers for. Well, at least any rational answer that even they themselves will be comfortable with. If they want to try to debunk these proofs that I will be presenting, even they will feel uncomfortable at the responses that they will have to conjure up, and I'm fully content with that. But before we dive in to these definitive globe proofs, I need to mention something important. As the flat earth movement has been on the rise, the ability for those who believe we live on a globe to defend that belief has been on the decline. Meaning, those of us who believe we live on a globe have a hard time defending that position and explaining and articulating exactly how it is that we know the true shape of the earth. Dr. Danny Faulkner, who was an astronomy professor, and actually someone I've had the chance to meet in the past, he would ask his new students in his introductory astronomy class how we know what the shape of the earth is. And guess what? He never received a good answer. As a whole, we have become ill-equipped to answer this question. And I think this has most likely played some role, I'm not sure how big of a role, in the current rise of the flat earth community. So, my suggestion to you is take this as an opportunity to brush up on your cosmology and your understanding of the history of our understanding of God's created universe. So let's dive into something that I'm very excited about: irrefutable proof that we live on a globe. Proof number one is the Himawari 9 Japanese weather satellite. Now, I tried to say that in my best Japanese. I asked my Facebook friends to help me learn how to pronounce Himawari properly, and they really helped me out. So thank you. But for the rest of the time, I'm just going to say it in Americanese, which I'm much more comfortable with. The Himawari 9 satellite is something most everyone watching has never heard of. And lucky you, because today you are in for a real treat. This meteorological satellite was launched into space back in 2016 from the Tanegashima Space Center in Japan. Here is a video of the original launch. You will notice the flag of Japan on the side of the rocket. When you listen to the audio of this launch, the countdown is in Japanese. And the backdrop will not be recognizable, as most rocket launches we watch and are familiar with are done by NASA in places like the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida. This rocket was launched into space by JAXA, the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, not by NASA. This is important because NASA has become enemy number one to the flat earthers. This rocket launch and this space satellite have nothing to do with NASA. So why is the Himawari 9 weather satellite my number one proof we live on a globe? It's because this satellite is currently orbiting over 20,000 miles above Earth. This is very significant. To put this into perspective for everyone, the International Space Station is only 250 miles above Earth, which means the Himawari 9 is way beyond what is known as low Earth orbit. This is an important term that we all need to be familiar with. Low Earth orbit, that is defined as less than 1,200 miles above the surface of the Earth. And the Earth is so big that when you're in low Earth orbit, so the first 1,200 miles above Earth, you cannot see the entire globe from that height. Put your hand up to your face and you can't see the whole thing. You have to pull it away from your face far enough before you can see it all at once. Since the Himawari 9 is so high, you can see the entire globe all at once from this satellite. Now, to be clear, when I say you can see the entire globe, I'm talking about the entire hemisphere on the side facing the satellite. We are talking about a three-dimensional object here. And since this satellite is in geostationary orbit, that means it matches the Earth's rotation, making it appear to be stationary. Now, I know what you might be thinking at this point. Aren't the flat earthers just going to say that space does not exist and so this satellite isn't real? Yes, that's exactly what they will say. And that position is completely untenable, as we are about to see. Since the Himawari 9 is high enough to see the entire Earth all at once, it is able to take pictures of the Earth from space. Individual pictures of the entire Earth. Now, this is more significant than you may think. And to understand why, we need to take a quick rabbit trail. And we need to talk about many of the pictures that NASA has released of Earth from space. Flat earthers think they have uncovered a grand conspiracy of photoshopped images from NASA because they have looked carefully at NASA images and found duplicated clouds on the images. Here's an example. I downloaded this picture straight from the NASA website, okay? This is a very famous picture, actually. It's the 2002 blue marble. That's the name of this picture. And if you look closely, you will see that there are groups of clouds which are clearly duplicated on this image. I circled just one of them, but there are many others. And let's zoom in there so you can see exactly what I'm referring to. It's pretty obvious. Now, flat earthers jump all over this as if they've found a smoking gun that NASA is faking pictures of the Earth. Robert Simon, who worked for NASA as their lead data visualizer and information designer, was tasked by NASA to help create images of the Earth based on the data NASA collected from space, specifically from low Earth orbit. You are undoubtedly familiar with Robert Simon's work, and you didn't even know it. Do you remember the default wallpaper on the first iPhone back in 2007 that was a picture of the Earth? That was the image that he helped produce, and that was released by NASA in 2002. Now, Robert Simon was once being interviewed and said this.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
And of course, the flat earthers had a field day with this one. And they still use this quote from him to this day as proof that NASA has faked the images of Earth that they release. Nothing could be further from the truth. Unfortunately, this just shows the flat earthers' complete misunderstanding of everything going on here. And they allow memes, such as this one, to influence them so much that they form a belief that NASA knows we can't go to space, and therefore they hire artists like Robert Simon to use Photoshop in order to create fake images of Earth in space. But if they would just take 5 seconds and do a simple Google search first, they would see the truth and the reality of what's going on here. But they refuse. They see a meme, they do no further research, and they just believe the meme as unequivocally true. Here is what a 5-second Google search brings up. Here is a screenshot of NASA's website that I captured just this week. And it's a page containing an interview with Robert Simon himself. Here is what he said on this official NASA page, which is an interview from 2012. The last time anyone took a photograph from above low Earth orbit that showed an entire hemisphere, one side of a globe, was in 1972 during Apollo 17. NASA's EOS satellites were designed to give a checkup of Earth's health. By 2002, we finally had enough data to make a snapshot of the entire Earth. So we did. The hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. Then we wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. That ball became the famous blue marble. Now that we all know what the term low Earth orbit means, this quote should make perfect sense. As of 2002, no photograph had been taken of Earth from above low Earth orbit since way back in 1972, 30 years prior. And so Robert Simon and his team had to take images and data collected from low Earth orbit to make a composite image of the globe. A lot of the images that NASA releases are composite images, which is where they take pictures and stitch them together digitally. This is not a conspiracy whatsoever. Did any of you ever do this with physical photos? I still remember being a kid with a disposable camera. And when we would go on vacation, I would take pictures with my disposable camera, and sometimes I was not able to get the entire subject of what I was trying to take a picture of in the little viewfinder window of the disposable camera. So I would take one picture, move the camera sideways, take another picture, with the hopes that I could put the developed pictures side by side, tape them together, and get a single image of what I was trying to take a picture of. Fortunately, in this day and age, our cell phones have cameras and computers in them, which allow us to very easily take these panoramic pictures. You know. And then the phone looks at the pixels and it uses that data to stitch them together into a nice single panoramic picture. This is essentially what Robert Simon and his team at NASA did. The pictures and data they had were all from low Earth orbit, which again is not high enough to see the entire globe all at once. So they made a composite image of Earth using programs like Photoshop. And guess what? That's exactly what NASA says they did on their own website. Here's another screenshot from the NASA website of the 2002 blue marble picture, where it says, in 2002, NASA scientists and visualizers stitched together strips of brand new data in natural color collected over 4 months from the MODIS instrument aboard Terra. And this is why there are duplicated clouds in the NASA composite images. There were gaps in the satellite's coverage, and Robert Simon publicly stated that he used the clone tool in Photoshop to cover those gaps. This is not a smoking gun at all. It's just the process with creating a single image of the Earth using low Earth orbit data and photos. This is the process. By the way, flat earthers also take something Robert Simon said and they pull it out of context constantly. They isolate where he said, then we wrapped the flat map around a ball, in order to imply he was taking a flat map of a flat earth and then wrapping that around a ball. This is very dishonest of them. Here's what he said in context before he made that statement. He said this: the hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. Did you catch it? The hard part, he said, was creating a flat map. He said the hard part was creating a flat map with data that came from a sphere. Once that hard part was done and complete, then he said they wrapped the flat map around a ball. You see, if the Earth was flat, it would not be hard to create a flat map. This point cannot be overlooked. There is no flat Earth map. It does not exist. Flat earthers like to use map projections of the globe and claim those as their flat Earth map. But those maps actually originate from the globe. Those are our maps, not yours. Their favorite map is the Gleason map, which is just an azimuthal equidistant projection of the globe. And the funniest part is, they don't even know where their Gleason map came from. It came from the globe. The only answer a flat earther has to the fact that there is no flat Earth map is they tell us, well, all maps are wrong, and so there are no perfectly accurate maps. What they don't realize is that all maps are wrong because the Earth is a globe. You can't take a sphere and flatten it into a flat map. It's impossible. Go find a blow-up globe, get a knife, and try to cut it and lay it out flat. You can't. If the Earth was actually flat, making a proper flat Earth map with correct distances and a scale on it would be so incredibly easy. But I digress. Let's get back to the Himawari 9. You needed all of that background information to understand the significance of the fact that the Himawari 9 is high enough above Earth, again, over 20,000 miles high, that it can take entire single pictures of Earth from space. No composite images here. Not even NASA here. And we are going to do something incredible right now. You ready for this? We are going to show you a real-time image of planet Earth from the Himawari 9 satellite. In case that's not clear, we are going to show you a picture of Earth that was literally just taken from the Himawari 9 satellite. The image you are about to see is going to show you exactly what the Earth looks like from space right now. I tasked Scott, who's running the board, to download the latest image from the Himawari 9 and to give me the signal when he has it. By the way, these are 121 megapixel files. They are very large. And I believe he just gave me the signal. Scott, are we good to go? Great. Check this out. What you are looking at right now is a real-time image of our beautiful Earth that was just photographed from space minutes ago. So what you are looking at right now, this is not a composite image. No edits of any kind were made. And this picture was just taken by the Himawari 9 minutes ago. So you are looking at essentially a live view of our planet from space. The clouds that you see are the actual clouds in the sky above Earth right now. The orange glow that you see, that is the reflection of the sun on the ocean waters. And the reason you can only see part of the Earth here is, again, because this satellite is in a geostationary orbit above Japan. And it's in the middle of the night in Japan right now. And as you can see, the sunrise has not yet happened in Japan. If this is not one of the most beautiful things you have ever seen, I do not know what is. What's more beautiful than planet Earth in all its glory? This is why the Himawari 9 is my number one irrefutable proof that we live on a globe. You can see it with your own eyes in real time. You ready for this? The Himawari 9 takes a full, unedited picture of Earth every 10 minutes of every day. That's over 140 pictures of Earth every single day. And they've been taking these pictures every 10 minutes for over 8 years. That's over 400,000 real-time images of Earth from space. And guess what? No edits, no composite images, no Photoshop, no duplicated clouds, and no NASA. This is fun, right? But we're not done. In fact, we are just getting started. Before I show you more incredible things with the Himawari 9, let's deal with the elephant in the room, okay? We all know that flat earthers are going to say the Himawari satellite is not real. They're going to say that space doesn't exist, and therefore the satellite that doesn't exist is not in space. And then they're going to say that these images are fake and that they're computer-generated imagery, CGI. Let me introduce you to another very important term in the flat earth debate, and that is baseless claim. Baseless claim. If they claim these images are CGI, that is what's known as a baseless claim. Flat earthers are notorious for making baseless claims. A baseless claim is a claim with zero evidence whatsoever. That's what a baseless claim is. It's a tactical maneuver to avoid having to actually deal with the evidence that's being presented to them. If a flat earther responds to my irrefutable proof that we live on a globe and claims that the Himawari 9 satellite is not real, that's a baseless claim. By the way, they actually do this with the International Space Station, which I will cover in depth in part 3. They can't claim the Himawari 9 doesn't exist without evidence to back that up. Otherwise, that's a baseless claim. If a flat earther responds to my proof and claims that the pictures are CGI or photoshopped or composite images, again, that's a baseless claim. They would need to demonstrate that the pictures are photoshopped. They would need to show evidence that it's a composite image. They would need to show evidence that it's a fake picture. And guess what? They can't. They can't. These are real images. And here's the best part. The 121 megapixel full disc photos, hundreds of thousands of them, are freely available for anyone to download. Which means flat earthers can easily show evidence of CGI or composite images. They could easily download these images and show duplicated cloud formations. They could easily download these images and show where multiple photos have been stitched together. The forensic evidence is literally right there in front of them for free, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can examine it, all of it, at any time. Here you go, flat earthers. Here's our proof. Here's hundreds of thousands of proofs. This is irrefutable. All they can do is make a baseless claim that the images are fake. They cannot demonstrate whatsoever that the images are fake. I'm also going to make a prediction right now, which is that if any flat earthers even attempt to respond to this irrefutable proof, they will respond with an old, outdated video about the Himawari 8. Just to be clear, the proof I'm offering here is the Himawari 9, not the Himawari 8. But let's keep going, because it actually gets better when they claim the images are fake. Since these images are real time, again, they are taken every 10 minutes, you can see pictures from space of catastrophic events as they happen on Earth. As they happen. By the way, this is the reason they built the Himawari and sent it to space. Japan wanted to be able to see weather patterns forming as close to live as possible. So typhoons, hurricanes, rainstorms. The whole purpose of this was to be able to study weather patterns, to better be able to predict them, and also to see the weather patterns forming as early as possible in order to best prepare. So these real-time images are used to know as early as possible when something is forming and which direction it's moving. As I was looking at the beauty of the Himawari 9 images, it occurred to me that if big enough things happen on Earth, you could see those events in these images, right? They're real images. And you could almost see them live. Live. So, hurricanes, volcanoes, large fires, large floods, even eclipses should all be visible from space. And guess what? They are. And you can see them happen in real time from the Himawari 9 satellite. Back on December 20th, 2021, something wild happened. An underwater volcano in the middle of the Pacific Ocean erupted. An underwater volcano. Underwater volcanoes are known as submarine volcanoes. And this particular one, the Hunga Tonga, was about 500 feet underwater. 500 feet. So 500 feet underwater in the middle of the South Pacific, this underwater volcano erupts without any warning. And unless you were scuba diving there out in the middle of the ocean at the time, which means you're also now dead, almost no one saw this happen until the ash plumes from the explosion traveled high enough to be seen by an inhabited island elsewhere in the South Pacific. To give you a general idea of where this took place geographically, it was about halfway between Fiji and Polynesia. Okay? And guess what happened less than 10 minutes after this underwater volcanic eruption? The Himawari 9 satellite took a picture of this volcanic eruption from space. And not only that, but just minutes after this explosion in the middle of the ocean, you, yourself, from the comfort of your own living room, could download a picture of the explosion from space taken by the Himawari 9 satellite. Before almost anyone, anywhere on Earth even knew this explosion happened in the middle of the South Pacific, you could see a high-definition picture of it taken from space. Here are the pictures taken of the underwater volcano eruption by the Himawari. Now, by the way, this will look like a video, but it's actually just still images being displayed in succession. The first thing you will notice is that you cannot see the entire hemisphere, again, because of the position of the sun. You will see more of Earth light up as these pictures progress, which is how the sunrise looks from space. Watch in the lower right corner, and you will see the volcano erupt in the middle of the ocean. We added a red arrow to make it easier to see. The explosion quickly turns into an ash plume that you can see dissipate out over the ocean. Again, the bright light you see moving across the globe is the reflection of the sun off the ocean. Very cool. Very cool. Now check this out. This is my favorite part of the story. This underwater volcano had virtually no activity for over 7 years. The last time there was any real activity was back in 2014. After the eruption on December 20th, there was about a week or so of some more surges and other volcanic activity, and then everything just kind of stopped. And on January 11th, 2022, so this is just 23 days after the initial eruption, the Tonga Geological Services Department declared the volcano dormant. They declared it dormant. So, coast is clear, nothing to worry about. It's dormant again and will probably be so for many years. And then just 3 days later, on January 14th, the volcano erupted again. And this eruption was massive. It sent ash clouds over 12 miles high. That's how massive this eruption was. So no one was expecting this, especially after the professionals declared the volcano dormant just 3 days earlier. And once again, just minutes after the Hunga Tonga erupted for the second time, you could download a 121 megapixel picture of the explosion taken from space. And these pictures are nothing short of stunning. You won't even need a red arrow this time. Check this out. Now, this explosion was so massive that the eruption was heard over 1,200 miles away in New Zealand. They heard the eruption 1,200 miles away in New Zealand. But are you ready for this? They heard it 2 hours later. They heard it 2 hours later. It took the sound 2 hours to travel and be heard in New Zealand of the original eruption. So you could see a picture of the volcanic eruption long before people in New Zealand would even hear the explosion for the first time. Isn't that fascinating? Now, tsunamis are normally caused by earthquakes, but this underwater volcanic eruption was so large, it actually caused a tsunami. By the way, this tsunami had waves that reached 60 feet in height. This is a big deal. As we look at these pictures again, and I know it's hard to believe that this is not a video, but that's due to the pictures being taken in such close proximity to one another. So as we watch this again, I want you to notice that you can see not just the underwater volcano erupt, but you can also see the tsunami that was created dissipate outward in all directions. Again, pictures of large-scale events on the earth can be downloaded just minutes after they occur, which is before most people on the planet even know that these events happened in the first place. Here is a high-resolution photo of the very moment that the volcano erupted. This is the picture that we have on the thumbnail that we will be using on YouTube for this message. There are so many things like this that can be seen from space. So let's just look at one more. As you can imagine, I can talk Himawari photos all day. Flat earthers have a very difficult time explaining eclipses. There are two types of eclipses, lunar and solar eclipses. This image plainly shows the difference between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. As you can see, a solar eclipse is when the moon's shadow is cast onto the earth. And a lunar eclipse is when the earth's shadow is cast upon the moon. Ask any flat earther what causes a lunar eclipse, and they have no real answer. Anyway, a solar eclipse, when the moon's shadow is cast onto the earth, that's something that's large enough to see from space. The moon is very big, and therefore its shadow is also very big. And since globe science can predict solar eclipses with pinpoint accuracy, down to the exact date and time, and even the path of totality, all we need to do is find when the last total solar eclipse happened on this side of the earth where Japan and Australia are. By the way, if a flat earther tells you there are patterns to eclipses, they're lying. Ask them to show you the patterns, they can't. They just say that. The last total solar eclipse on that side of the globe happened just this year in April. And since I live on the opposite side of the globe in the United States, and therefore could not go outside to see the eclipse with my special eclipse glasses, I got to watch this particular eclipse via the Himawari satellite images. It was one of the neatest things I've ever seen. How many people can say they've seen a solar eclipse from space? You will be able to say that when we are done here. As we watch this time lapse, and again, this is not a video, it's just successive pictures from the Himawari, and the bright light near the center of the earth is the sun reflecting off the ocean, you will see the moon's shadow start in the lower left corner and move to the upper right corner. And you will also see the sunset move in from right to left. So this is what a solar eclipse looks like from space. Pretty cool, huh? And there will be another total solar eclipse this year on April 8th, which will be visible in the United States and is already being labeled the Great American Total Solar Eclipse. And of course, this upcoming eclipse and all other eclipses are accurately predicted only by the globe model. Flat earthers never attempt to predict anything. There are exactly 0 predictions made by the flat earth model. None. The Himawari 9 satellite is irrefutable proof we live on a globe. Proof you can see with your own eyes. Flat earthers, stop closing your eyes to reality and open them to the beautiful design of God's magnificent creation. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we just come to you today and we're just in awe of what you have created. You created a massive universe that we can continue to explore for the rest of our lives. And I'm just so grateful that we are able to see your hand and to see your design in the creation. And I pray that people do not cause a stumbling block to others by ignoring reality, by ignoring proofs given to them. And let people see that creation and the reality of creation does point to a creator, it does point to a designer, and that designer is you. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.